Greetings Mavericks and new viewers. Tonight, direct and live, from the Maverick News Network, World Studios. This is Maverick News with Rick Walker.
Okay, guys, I'm told that we have a problem on one of our Rumble channels, so bear with me while I check that out, and I'll be right back. I think I know what the problem might be. I hope. See you in a moment.
Greetings brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are Maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, defending free speech, Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
He's a fighter. He's a survivor. President Trump, defiant, strong. He is determined to make America great again. Pay tribute to the 45th President of the United States with this collectible t-shirt from the Maverick News Memorable Moments collection. Even a would-be assassin's bullet could not stop him. Instead, he emerged with his fist in the air ready to fight for freedom. Get your Trump Fighting for Freedom t-shirt with any donation of $30 or more to Maverick News. There are two iconic artistic designs to choose from, but there is only one way to get these. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Support free speech, free media. Support Maverick News. Call 1-866-248-1490 or order online at supergeeks.tv.
All right. I think we're running on all the channels. I'm just going to check back in the chat here. Over on the main Rumble channel. I don't understand. It says, people are telling me we're not running on Rumble 1 while they chat with me in Rumble 1. Doesn't make sense. But is that because the video is not running? This makes no sense to me. Okay, look, I'm going to take another shot at this. Hang on. I don't understand all these technical problems with Rumble.
Maverick News. The world is watching.
You know, someone very profoundly once said many years ago that if fascism ever comes to America, it'll come in the name of liberalism.
Well, I think it's time we ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us by the Founding Fathers. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth.
The entire world is watching.
Every dictator, every crazy dictator in the world is watching. The world is watching. On TV,
the entire world is watching.
On social media.
But the entire world is watching, and yes, they are seeing what we have apparently bravely been willing to say that others are thinking.
Stand for freedom. Literally stand for freedom. Let's get this done. The entire world is watching.
We're at war with the most dangerous enemy that has ever faced mankind in his long climb from the swamp to the stars.
Maverick News. Maverick News. Maverick News.
Let me have more control of my own destiny.
The world is watching.
Okay, I got it fixed. So, we're running on all channels now. All eyes are on politics and these wars. Globally, we have exploding pagers, walkie-talkies, other electronic devices affecting, targeting Hezzbollah operatives. We have Jagmeet Singh, the fallout from his confrontation yesterday with a couple of, I would call them protesters, not journalists, activists, protesters outside the Parliament buildings in Canada. Justin Trudeau under steady pressure to call an election. Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre could have an opportunity next week to topple the government with a confidence vote in the House. Today, Trudeau receiving some unexpected support. We'll tell you about that. Also, big kaboom inside Russia. A major drone attack taking out a munitions storage facility, and the explosion, massive. We'll show you that. All kinds of stuff tonight. And later in the program, Dragon is going to join us. We're going to talk a little bit about Winston Churchill. A hero to the West, a hero under fire, as some people try to tear him down and to take him away from us. So we will have a discussion. So all kinds of things to get into tonight. And yeah, lots of politics. So with that being said, let me get the first stuff queued up and we'll be back on the other side of this.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals. Defenders of individual rights and freedoms. Credible. Trusted. Grounded in reality. Maverick News. Maverick News. Defending free speech. Free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay. Where shall we start tonight? Exploding pagers, exploding electronic devices all over, affecting Hezzbollah operatives. Let's start with that. So I can tell you. Just bear with me here. I'm still struggling with some technical things. So I'm just a little bit distracted while I deal with all that. Oh, man. I do apologize. I'll tell you what, let's start with... Let's start in Canada today instead. Because I know that, well, we're based in Canada and everybody here has their eyes on the prize. Pierre Poilievre back in the House today in opposition to the Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau. Next week will be there will be an opportunity for a confidence vote. Pierre Poilievre is trying to lay the groundwork for that. And he went after Trudeau in question period again today. But the Bloc Québécois, they say they are going to continue to support the government, that they will vote in confidence of the government, not no confidence next week, if that vote takes place. But here's the exchange. It isn't clear what will happen next week. Now the Parliament is sitting again. If the NDP will continue to support the Liberals, or if they will pull the rug out from underneath Justin Trudeau. Okay, here we go. This was the exchange today. Sparring in the House.
We've just learned that the Bloc will be voting to keep the most costly prime minister and most centralizing prime minister in history in power. A government that's doubled the cost of housing, doubled the national debt, increased the cost of groceries, broken our immigration system, pushing Quebec to the breaking point. How can the Bloc abandon Quebecers to prop up this prime minister, the most costly and centralizing one in our country's history? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Once again, Mr. Speaker, we see the Leader of the Opposition is only concerned about his own political interests and not the interests of Canadians and Quebecers. That's why we're going to keep investing in Canadians. We're going to be there for Quebecers with health care, dental care, more child care places, instead of proposing cuts and austerity, which we know the Conservative leader would impose on everyone. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition. Canadians' interest is in cutting taxes, building houses, fixing the budget, and stopping crime so that Quebecers can bring home bigger paychecks and pensions that will be enough to afford housing and food. That's after 9 years of the Liberal Bloc coalition. They've doubled the debt, doubled the cost of living, and broken our immigration system. Why is the Bloc propping up this expensive and centralizing government? The Honourable Prime Minister. Once again, we see the Conservative leader believes in slogans, but not in Canadians and Quebecers. He doesn't want to invest to help people with dental care. He doesn't want to be there to help our seniors, to help young people. He just wants to cut programs. He voted against our climate action, against checks that people need, but he wants nothing to do with that. He's obsessed with his own thirst for power. We're concerned about Quebecers and Canadians, and we're working for them.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
The NDP leader sold out Canadians to sign onto a costly coalition that doubled the debt, doubled the housing costs, sent 2 million people to food banks and 1,800 tent encampments. He voted 24 times for the carbon tax. And since he did his dramatic video, he's refused to answer 40 times whether he'd vote non-confidence. Now that he knows that the Bloc is going to keep the Liberals in power, he'll stand up and claim that he's voting against. Mr. Speaker, why won't the NDP stand up when it counts so that we can end this costly coalition and elect a common sense government?
Before the Prime Minister takes a crowd, I'm going to ask the honourable member from New Westminster, Burnaby, please, to only take the microphone when his voice is recognized. The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, once again, we see that the Leader of the Opposition enjoys his political games, enjoys chasing after his own political interests, and has not a second to care for Canadians' interests. He's actually in a bad mood because inflation has come down for Canadians. He doesn't care about their interests. That's why we're going to continue to deliver for Canadians. We're going to continue to step up with investments that are going to support Canadians, fight climate change, and build a brighter future for everyone.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, after 9 years of this costly NDP carbon tax coalition, what's happened? What's up? Taxes up, costs up, crimes up, time's up. What Canadians need is hope. By choosing a common sense government that axes taxes, builds homes, fixes the budget, and stops the crime so they can earn powerful paychecks and pensions that buy affordable food, gas, and homes in safe neighborhoods protected by a strong military. Why can't we bring it home now?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Speaker, that little performance shows just how much the Leader of the Opposition loves his slogans, but actually doesn't put forward any.
I'm going to ask, as I'd asked a previous member before, to please not take the floor unless they're recognized. I'm going to ask all members, please, to allow the member to. I'll ask Prime Minister, Right Honourable Prime Minister, to start from the top.
Boy, Mr. Speaker, point out the performance of the Leader of the Opposition, and his colleagues get all upset because they know that he doesn't actually care about Canadians. He doesn't care about the programs we're delivering. He doesn't care about stepping up to support Canadians. He's actually in a bad mood because inflation has come down to 2%, Mr. Speaker, and it ruins his little just inflation slogan. He is so upset because he's cared about his own interests and not the interests of Canadians. We're going to stay focused on the things that matter for people while he spins little rhymes and tosses out his slogans. We'll take this seriously like we always have.
If anyone had any doubt, it's definitely Wednesday. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, the just inflation tagline works now better than ever. He can try to call himself Rocky Balboa and play fight songs to aggrandize himself as the star. But the people lined up at food banks, 2 million of them every month, know better. The people who are living in the 1,800 Ontario tent encampments know better. The 35 homeless encampments in Halifax, the people there know better. They know that we need to fire this costly carbon tax coalition so we can elect a common sense government that will bring it home for them.
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Speaker, he sure loves to declaim about vulnerable people and perform his empathetic supposed concern. But the reality is he is using vulnerable people for his own political gains. If he actually cared about people, he wouldn't have voted against dental care for 700,000 seniors. He wouldn't have voted against a school food policy that's helping families with $800 worth of groceries a year. He's not making the investments in Canadians. He wants to cut programs, make Canadians suffer, so he can sit in the big chair.
Allowed.
Order.
Order.
Well,
Then I have
the honourable member for Belleuil-Chambly. The Prime Minister appointed a special envoy to fight Islamophobia, and she felt that her...
Okay. So, that's the leader of the bloc. He says no dice next week. He's going to vote with the government, which probably means we won't get that early election call next week. But hang on. Just hang on tight. It's coming. You can see it. You can feel it. You can hear it. You can smell it. It's in the air. An election. Coming sooner rather than later, I think. I don't think we'll have to wait until October of next year. Could still happen before Christmas, if not spring. That's my prediction. Okay, so this has been quite a 24 hours, really. A second wave of device explosions rocking Lebanon today, killing 20 people, injuring 450 more. Fires broke out across the country following these blasts, these coming just a day after pagers belonging to Hezzbollah members detonated in an unprecedented attack on the militant group. The Lebanese Red Cross deployed 30 ambulances across southern Lebanon and the Bekaa Valley to respond to the latest explosions. Civil defense teams working around the clock to put out fires in homes, cars, and shops. Hezbollah-affiliated media reports the devices, identified as handheld transceivers or walkie-talkies, exploded in people's hands. Lebanon's telecommunications ministry confirmed the devices as ICOM V82s, saying they were not purchased through official channels. ICOM, the manufacturer, has not commented, but their website warns that counterfeit versions of these models are widely available. On Tuesday, a similar attack killed 12 Hezzbollah members and injured nearly 3,000 others. 2 U.S. officials say Israel was behind the attack, although Israel has not claimed responsibility. Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant said the country is now entering a new phase in its conflict with Hezzbollah as the Northern Front becomes a central focus. Interesting, I came across this video, which I'm going to run for you, of this young lady. Let me just see if I can find it for you. Here it is here. And I'm going to comment a little bit on this because it's interesting how people perceive the same events in completely different ways. She's upset that these Hezzbollah operatives have been targeted, of course, viewed by others as terrorists. And listen to the way she speaks. She's upset because she's saying that it puts civilians in jeopardy. I'll comment on that aspect of it. Here we go.
What Israel just did in Beirut is like something out of a Black Mirror episode. They blew up the pages. They blew up the devices of Hezzbollah members. They exploded whilst using them and whilst in their pockets. They have the technology to specifically target people and use their own devices as weapons against them. 3,000 people have been injured and have had to be rushed to hospital in Beirut, Lebanon, a place that's going through the worst financial crisis of human history, that is low on doctors, that is low on medications, that is low on bloods. This is so disgustingly sinister, even for Israel. That country is so heavily funded that they are able to have some of the most, if not the most, advanced warfare in the world, that they're able to target people by their devices. Yeah. They're able to use their own devices as weapons against them. that is so dystopian and sick. Israel are using explosive devices in civilian areas. How is that not terrorism?
I'll tell you how it's not terrorism. It's targeted. You're basically at war. They're using technology to target specific individuals who are combatants. That's, I'd say, a better alternative than bombing someplace where you get a lot of collateral damage. If you're at war and you can specifically target an adversarial soldier, isn't that fair? In fact, isn't that preferable to blowing up a building or putting a missile through a window of a building where you can get a lot of collateral damage, civilians actually hurt? This is targeted warfare, extremely targeted warfare, highly sophisticated, extremely sophisticated technology, very high-tech stuff. So I have to say, I think it's brilliant. Just looking at it from a strategic point of view and a technology perspective, it's an unprecedented form of attack. And the reason it's not terrorism is because it is specifically targeting combatants. And it has the intent of avoiding injuring civilians. Even though you may have these attacks happening in some cases in civilian areas, it's the combatants that are targeted and taken out. That's why it's not terrorism. This means that combatants, an enemy combatant who is moving among civilian populations in a community, in a civilian area, can still be targeted and effectively neutralized. That's why it's not terrorism. Terrorism generally targets innocent civilians. You know, you go and have someone who, a suicide bomber run into a theater and detonate an explosive device, killing a lot of civilians, thus spreading terror among the population in general. That's terrorism. This was a very targeted, high-tech attack specifically aimed at Hezzbollah operatives.
Children were amongst those injured. More children injured or worse, killed at the hands of Israel. Is this self-defense? Is this Israel having the right to...
Really? How many children were killed? I don't know. Let's look that up. I'm going to check on that. How many children have been killed in the pager attack on Hezzbollah? One child was killed in the initial pager attacks, a 9-year-old girl. That's the most up-to-date information. One child killed. And that's too many, for sure.
To defend themselves by blowing up civilians' phones in the street as they're shopping, as they're picking up their kids from school?
They're not civilians.
Is that self-defense? We have all been protesting, we've all been posting, we've all been talking about this. Our governments need to place sanctions. They should have done it a year ago. We should never have supported Israel. They're terrorists. They're terrorists with a lot of money.
I don't know about that.
That's why they can have this precise dystopian targeting. This is so
dystopian targeting.
So disgusting.
I'd say very precise targeting. Very precise. Yeah, very, very, very precise. I don't know how much more specific you can get with your targeting. You're literally putting a bomb on the hip of a combatant that you're targeting and then detonating it. How much more direct can you get? I don't think you can get any more direct than that. That's not terrorism.
There have been reports of them using the
problem with her is she's just on one side and she's just looking at it through that lens. She's not looking at, for her and people like her, it doesn't matter what Israel does, it's wrong. And for people on the other side, Hezzbollah, Hamas, whatever they do, that's okay. Anything they do is justified. We could get into the reasons why, but honestly, that's what the mentality is here. I have to say, this is very, very, just strictly analyzing it as the attack that it was, how it was executed, extremely targeted. Much preferable to exploding a bomb. And the problem that has always been present when combating organizations, especially like Hamas, is that they do use civilians as human shields. There's a long-standing, that is an undeniable fact. And so this is a way to circumvent that strategy and preserve civilian life. So she's out to lunch.
Capture things, the prove you're not a robot thing. Select the sidewalk, select the motorbike. Apparently they've been using that data to target civilians.
That's not what this was. They were not targeting civilians.
Terrorist state is capable of.
Oh, for crying out loud. That is not what they were doing. They didn't target civilians. They targeted very specifically, and you've seen all the reports reflect this. They're targeting Hezzbollah operatives. Obviously, the United States saying they had nothing to do with it because they don't want the blowback from it, because it doesn't look like they had anything to do with it. This was Israel. They haven't claimed responsibility for it, but it's pretty clear who would be behind it. I'm just telling you the way it is. And then today, more of it. It happened yesterday. We got more of it today. Walkie-talkies, other electronic devices, I'm told even some cars blew up today. But these are very specific, very targeted attacks. Warfare is different these days. It's not like it was. It has evolved. You have drone warfare, you have information warfare, cyber warfare. This takes cyber warfare to a whole new level because it turns cyber warfare into a form of kinetic warfare where they can target computers, vehicles, all kinds of electronic and electrical devices and make them blow up. Unbelievable. I'm told there is a lawsuit that has been launched by the manufacturer of those pagers against Israel for, I think, because of the damage this may have done to the brand name of the pager, the kind of pager that it is. But the company yesterday saying that they really didn't manufacture them. The ones that went to Hezzbollah in that order came from, off the top of my head, it was outsourced to a company in Europe, Budapest, I believe. Is that right? Don't quote me on this. This is off the top of my head. So it was outsourced to another company. It was in Europe. And So they're trying to distance themselves from the entire episode. But I'll tell you, it's a nasty business, this war. Very nasty indeed. And now you see the capabilities that are out there for some military operations. Israel, very high tech. Extremely high tech. This was an attack that was months in the making. And it still isn't even entirely clear to anyone exactly how they did this. People still speculating, were these devices equipped with explosive devices, like some sort of explosive? Or did they just make the batteries blow up? It isn't clear. And now even more kinds of devices exploding, raising even more questions. The manufacturer of the walkie-talkie, as I said, the walkie-talkies that have been blowing up, they're saying that there are a lot of fake or clone products out there. So yeah, I wouldn't want to be in the shoes of a Hezzbollah operative right now. And if I were, I wouldn't be carrying around any electronic devices with me. I'd be ditching anything new, that's for sure. And even then, not sure exactly how they're doing this, so I'd be very worried. That's not terrorism, though. That's called war. Like it or not. Just saying.
Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay, speaking of technology, Donald Trump was just in a New York bar, and he paid his tab with Bitcoin. Oh, where did my clip go? Which is a milestone in history. Here it is right here. Oh, hang on. I better put this over here so I can run this tab. Okay. Sorry again. A lot of technical things going on here tonight. Here we go. So here's Donald Trump, first president in history to pay a bill with Bitcoin.
On Donald Trump, he is in a bar, I believe, in downtown New York called the Pub Key in downtown Manhattan. Maybe we can play up some sound here, guys, and see if he says anything.
Scan this QR code here with this phone if you want to take that from them. Scan that QR code right up here. Take pictures. Oh, right there. Right there. Just that one. Slight technical difficulty.
All right. And fantastic, it went through. Right. I need to refresh the invoice.
Invoice?
Refresh the invoice.
Oh, it did go through. All right, we're done. Perfect. The first transaction by a president on the Bitcoin protocol. History.
You know what that means? That's history.
Hello, everybody. I got to go back and see those people.
All right, let's go.
Come on.
Right this way.
Well, there you go, folks. Mr. Bitcoin, D. Donald J. Trump. I didn't see that one coming. At least not until recently. What is the price of Bitcoin today? $83,327 Canadian. Let's take a look at that. 83,000. So what's that in US? $61,215.40. How are we doing here in terms of price? So holding its own. You know, if you go back 6 months ago, it was at 61,964. So it's lost a little bit over 6 months. Not much, though. It dipped all the way down to 54,237 in August. We had that crash, if you may recall. Some people freaked out because we also had a dip in the stock market. So there was all this, I would almost call it like mini panic over the course of a couple of days. And I said, no, this ain't it. And it turned out to be a blip. We're battling back. Times are different. Things are different. You know, I've come to the conclusion as well that one of the things that can help protect us from a run on banks, stock market crash, is transaction velocity. It's important because it's the ability of the government and central banks to respond very, very, very quickly to any kind of changes in the market. And when new policies are implemented, when interest rates change, when any kind of transaction takes place, it can happen almost instantaneously because bits and bytes flow around the world in the blink of an eye, instantly. Back in the 1920s, say in 1929, when we had the stock market crash, everything was still on paper. Everything had to be sent. And in some ways that it didn't accelerate transactions, but it, I think, accentuated major swings in the market because corrections couldn't happen as quickly. Now, with digital transactions, including conventional currency, which people are concerned about a central bank digital currency, the currency you have now is basically digitized. Whether I don't know if you realize that or not, but money is just flowing around the world like that. Because you don't have to send a plane load full of gold to pay for something. You just push a button on a computer and the transaction is completed. That's the case also with Bitcoin. It's just that it happens on the blockchain and there's little or no government involvement in that. But it happens very, very quickly. That's one of the reasons that we've got new kinds of financial tools available to us to improve stability in the market and help manage inflation. And today, we saw the Fed cut the interest rate in the U.S., the Federal Reserve lowering its key interest rate by 0.5 percentage point. That's an unusually aggressive move. It's being done to cushion the economy from a further slowdown. Obviously, a lot of concerns about that. Yes, too much debt. Yes, too much money printing. But the central bank noted job gains had slowed while inflation had made further progress toward its 2% goal. You heard Freeland and Trudeau today talking about inflation in Canada coming down to 2%. Now, I don't really buy that. but inflation has come down a lot over the last quarter. That's not to, and it needs to stay down in order to provide stability. If you can get to 2% inflation, that is stable economic growth with just the right amount, theoretically, of inflation built into the system to make the entire monetary system stable. And then, of course, the currency over time becomes revalued, you see. But the inflation happens at a rate where people don't get hurt because the growth and the profits and so on that people make from engaging in work and adding value and productivity to the economy offsets the inflation at 2%. So today, the Federal Reserve Chair, Jay Powell, says the labor market and the economy in general remains in what he calls solid shape. I would say the economy is not in very good shape. He's trying to put a positive spin on it, but we are battling back after the pandemic. Too much inflation for too long, too much money printing, too much quantitative easing. It has resulted in massive inflation over the last few years, and it is good to see the numbers coming down. That being said, I think it's pretty clear we still need a change in government, a change in direction with the economy, less regulation, lower taxes, but I always advocate for that, and more emphasis on the free market. That is what will get us back to prosperity and bring production back home. Donald Trump talking a lot about that at his rallies, talking about imposing tariffs on China in order to protect the steel, aluminum, and electric vehicle startups, the auto industry in general. We saw him talking about it again just last night. What else do we have for you today? Okay, so we already showed you Trump and his Bitcoin. And we've got that. Oh, yes. This out of Ohio, Springfield. Big protest there. And again, this is the strangest election ever. Haitian protesters, also in Uniondale, New York, gathered to protest today against Donald Trump because of his claims about Haitians eating pets in Springfield, Ohio. This is just the strangest thing. I never thought I'd be sitting here saying, and then protesters were upset because one of the presidential candidates said that they eat cats and dogs. But here we are. And that's exactly what their banners say. It says that we don't eat pets, we vote. This is from Freedom News.
Sense of dignity. Stand up. That's right. Because we are here calling on all Haitians with any sense of dignity. Stand up. That's right. Against. And vote for Kamala Harris. Because hate has no place on Long Island. Hate has no place in New York. And hate has no place in American hearts. We stand united. Yeah, you said it's until November, but we will bring this country to a different direction, and we hope that the Haitian community leads the way to that front.
We don't eat the dogs and we don't eat the cats. We're going to vote and we're going to win because we do not eat the pets. This is so weird. We don't. It's that this is just the immigration, racism fight framed in a new way. That's what it is. We don't eat the pets. We don't eat the cats. We don't eat dogs. We no more hate, but we hate Donald Trump. It's so freaking weird. But hey, Kamala Harris She primed us for this, didn't she? I mean, the whole Democrat machine. What was the word that they rolled out to launch their Kamala campaign? Weird.
No more hate! 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 No more hate!
We're not going back. We're not going back. We don't eat the cats. We don't eat the dogs. It's just the weirdest thing ever. Oh man, she warned us. The Teamsters Union has declined to endorse any candidate in the presidential election. You know, we saw during the RNC convention, the president of the Teamsters, Sean O'Brien, speak at the convention. That was different. That's never happened. But there he was up on the stage speaking. But the union has actually come away from that and meetings with Trump. And previously they met with Joe Biden. Now they've met 2 days ago with Kamala Harris. And today the Teamsters coming out and saying they are not actually endorsing any candidate. No formal endorsement. But the quote here, I've just got a quote, and it says, while the Teamsters Executive Board is making no formal endorsement, the hardworking members of the Teamsters have been loud and clear. They want President Trump back in the White House. That from campaign spokesperson Caroline Leavitt in a statement. She says, these hardworking men and women are the backbone of America, and President Trump will strongly stand up for them when he's back in the White House. And yes, I know that even yesterday Trump was talking about imposing tariffs on China and bringing production back to America, and also cranking up production in the auto industry again, bringing production back to the Motor City, Detroit. And everything has changed, right? The Democrats, traditionally the party of working people, and now Trump, with his populist politics, really scooping up, I think, a lot of that traditional Democrat base support. Times they have changed. Also, thank you everybody for the positive feedback on the music that we created here. We've created this whole album of freedom songs, and we have 10 tunes. We've created an album. Here's the cover. Free Dog. Free Dog. That's Cosmo. That's my dog. Y'all want to see my dog? There's my dog. He's your dog too. He's the Maverick mascot, Cosmo. So yeah, we ran that song for you last night, Free Dog, the title track. And yeah, great feedback on that. And yeah, with any donation of $10 or more to support this channel, I will send you the album. I'll send you all 10 tunes, all 10 freedom tunes that we've produced here. And I love there are 2 versions of Free Dog and Free Dog Reprise. And I'm glad you guys really liked it. I love the thing. I think it's fun. I'm going to run it for you again right here, right now. And then on the other side, we're going to come back and speak with Dragon about Winston Churchill, an iconic Western political and social hero who is under fire. But Dragon's been doing some research, and he's going to tell us why we still have a lot of reasons to be proud of Winston Churchill. But first, here it is. Here's Free Dog. And I hope you like
it.
He's a fighter. He's a survivor. President Trump, defiant, strong. He is determined to make America great again. Pay tribute to the 45th President of the United States with this collectible t-shirt from the Maverick News Memorable Moments collection. Even a would-be assassin's bullet could not stop him. Instead, he emerged with his fist in the air ready to fight. For freedom. Get your Trump Fighting for Freedom t-shirt with any donation of $30 or more to Maverick News. There are 2 iconic artistic designs to choose from. But there is only one way to get these. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Support free speech. Free media. Support Maverick News. Call 1-866-248-1490 or order online at supergeeks.tv.
Okay, let's bring Dragon in. Hey, Dragon.
What's up, guys? How are you tonight?
You know, I'm going to share something funny with you. I ran that song for the first time last night, Free Dog, and it talks about Cosmo, my dog, running free, and he's a long way from home. And I had a couple of people say to me today, Rick, did your dog run away? No, he's just a song. It's just like, Free Dog. It's just a song. No, it's okay, everybody. If you what you took away from the song is that Cosmo ran away. No, he's right up. He's right over there. He's fine. He's fine. He's just being as mischievous as ever. Today he was. I was out working on my on the old Honda that I'm restoring, right? And just an old car, and doing some work on it. And he's a thief. My dog is a thief. He steals my tools. He steals. I had the rear wheel off the car. He stole the lug nuts. He steals the. I was doing body work. He stole the sandpaper. I can't keep up with him. But no, he's fine. He didn't run away. Anyway, that's what's going on with Cosmo. What do you think of the song?
Actually, I've just heard it for the second time, and I will be honest, I had a little tears in my eyes because it's a beautiful song. I love it.
Very emotional. Yeah.
Yeah, I got emotional.
I think it's fun. Yeah, there it is.
Well, I think it's fitting that I start real quick with a beautiful quote of our friend and beloved Winston Churchill.
Winston Churchill.
Yeah.
Okay.
I got one here about freedom and goes by all the great things are simple and many can be expressed in a single word: freedom, justice, honor, duty, mercy, and hope.
Yeah, the reason we're talking about this tonight, folks, is Winston Churchill is under fire. And it's this time, this attempt or this effort to steal another hero of the West from us, another symbol of pride, is coming from a very unexpected place. Tucker Carlson interviewed a historical revisionist. It's got to be about a week and a half ago or so. And in the course of this interview, the person being interviewed said that Winston Churchill was the main architect of World War II. He blamed World War II on Winston Churchill. So I took note of that, and that's set off a bit of a firestorm on social media. Tucker didn't challenge him on it at all. In fact, he kind of agreed with him. And I was like, what the hell is going on? I've talked a lot on this program about the convergence of the extreme left and the extreme right. Communofascism is what I call it. And I'm seeing all kinds of political convergence happening right now. in ways that I find are somewhat disturbing. Over the last numbers of decades, it's been the left, the progressive left, the woke left, primarily, that has been stealing our historic icons, tearing down our statues, rewriting our history, introducing political, historical revisionism, injecting that into our education system, and then overlaying that and integrating it into our political system, our legal systems. But this time, it's coming from what some would say is the right, the conservative side. But in this case, I don't know. It's ever since Tucker left Fox, his tone, his positions on things, it's evolved a bit. It's changed. He's shifted. And in this particular case, again, I took exception to it. People can say what they want. I believe in free speech. You can view history in a variety of ways. I understood the guy's arguments, but I'm sorry. Winston Churchill, as far as I'm concerned, Dragon, remains, always will be, a hero, not just for Britain, not just for the West, but for the entire damn world. He stood up to fascism. He stood up to the Nazis. If it wasn't for Winston Churchill, Britain would not have been warned. Britain would not have had the navy that it needed to stand up to
thanks to him, because I believe it was in 1933 that he started to ask the parliament to expand the navy, and not only the navy but also the RAF, which is the Royal Aircraft.
That's right.
So basically, he was asking for expand the army, and notably also the navy, because at the point where in 1930 just till 1938 you had a lot of ship made by the German that was kind of breaking the Versailles Treaty, and also these were like big ship like the Bismarck, which has a mark into the into history and in naval battles.
Yeah, I mean, the Versailles Treaty was designed to prevent Germany from rearming. They initially were limited to, I think, 100,000 troops. They weren't supposed to have any more than that. I know that they used to have to train with fake tanks made of canvas and wood while they were secretly rearming and building tanks and heavy armor and trucks and guns and munitions on a huge scale. And they fired up this huge arms industry covertly, using a very unique economic system, their own kind of economic system, which we could get into on another date. But it was Churchill who realized what was going on, and he warned Britain, he warned the West, but they rejected him initially. They said, "No, Winston, no, we want a negotiated peace." So they went with Neville Chamberlain, who took an attitude, a position of appeasement, really, and he came back, Chamberlain, with a peace deal with Hitler, but it wasn't worth the paper it was written on. It didn't take long, and the world saw that Winston Churchill was right and Chamberlain was wrong, because Hitler didn't honor the deal, and he continued to expand and just used it to buy time. And then Britain embraced Churchill again, a World War I hero, and a masterful politician.
Did you know he was actually also a war correspondent?
Yes, he was. Yeah, that's one of the ways. That's one of the ways that his name became a household name, was because of his work as a war correspondent in World War I, and then entered politics, where his father had served as a prominent politician. His family, a long history tied to, significant politics in the UK. Yeah,
By the
I
way, the
mean,
treaty you were referring to was the Munich Treaty, if I'm not mistaken.
yes, that's right. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm honestly, Dragon, I have to say, and this is me editorializing on this, I'm tired of our heroes, our icons being torn down. There's a lot to be proud of in our country, in the West. Winston Churchill, he's another one, not just for Britain, but also for the United States and especially for Canada. Because I know that what you've been doing, you've tapped into, or you've focused a little bit today on refreshing your memory, I know, on some of the contributions that Winston Churchill made that had a direct impact on Canada. Tell us about some of that.
Well, if I go back to my note, it was in 1938 where he did implement in Canada to start to manufacture probably more war. Actually, it's what you call. Hold on, I got to go back to my note because this one is a little bit of a giffy. You got the wartime conversion, which actually it's like converting your automobile industry, for example, to become tank manufacturer and so on. So you had that coming into effect around 1939. But Winston Churchill was already telling us to trying to get there because war was imminent. He knew that war was imminent. And at the point where the Second War started, we were not there yet, and he did help us actually also monetarily. So,
yeah, and I know that. Well, you mentioned also that he, you'd mentioned radar systems and the development of radar technology.
Yeah, the radar technology that was used at that point was not very. It was not the best, right? So it was the first radar at the point. And what happened is that, well, my good old city, Montreal, it's a beautiful city. The McGill University, why there's as you have seen probably in the pro-Palestinian protest, there's a memorial about World War II. And we were asking ourselves, why? Where? Well, there's the thing that the student that was studying in engineers and such, like science, were asked to be part of the war effort as engineers and so on. And they have actually built this CHL radar, which is still used today. And it's actually it's on land. It's landline, or it's what you call channel home lines. So basically it's to check out around the coast if there's some enemy submarine around. So yeah, Montreal, Canada was there.
Yeah, and I know that was extremely important because
the U-boats.
Yeah, the U-boats were sinking ships in the shipping lanes.
Yeah,
which was one of the things that led to the involvement of the United States and Canada in World War II, because the U-boats were sinking both, well, any ship actually, even
just
merchant ships, passenger ships. They were just sinking anything in those channels, and the Nazis at the time justified it by saying that we declare this a war zone, and any ship traveling in these waters is therefore a legitimate target. So they were sinking everything. There's an Alfred Hitchcock movie actually about that, if I remember correctly. I have to refresh my memory on that one, but I'm pretty sure it's an Alfred Hitchcock movie with passengers traveling, and they're worried about a U-boat sinking this passenger ship, and that's what. That's one of the things that drew the United States into the war.
Well, try to imagine yourself, all right? you're posted in Europe as a Canadian or American, whatever, you as a soldier, right? You're in Europe, you need ammo, you need whatever that you need to be crossed to country from Canada, for example, US from here. So you had convoys, and those convoys was hunted by the U-boats.
Yes.
So yeah, that was
Yeah, they were.
a crucial moment to find them at some point because they were hurting the war effort of the Allies pretty badly.
Yeah. And, that's on the other side. There were blockades taking place against Germany too, but the Germans were going after even passenger ships. Now, the Germans were saying that they were, and this is what, historical revisionists will focus on, is that Germany was saying that sometimes there were more munitions being shipped on these even passenger ships as part of the cargo. And so that made these ships legitimate targets. But these are questions and issues that were raised at the time. These are things that people grappled with, these issues. And in the end, the public, the governments of the day came to the conclusion that U.S. intervention and Canadian intervention in World War II was necessary. And yeah, I think that what Germany was doing was over aggressive in terms of the way they were targeting civilians at sea.
Mm-hmm. Well, if you know your history about the Dunkirk rescue, Dunkirk rescue was, hold on, I got to go back to my notes because my brain goes everywhere. The evacuation of Dunkirk on May 20 to June 4, 1940. So what was happening is that you had some people stranded on the sea around the coast of France and also Britain. So what happened is that you had a lot of people floating on the water, a lot of soldiers, and we needed as soon as possible to go help them. So most of them was stranded there. What was happening is that the Luftwaffe, or if you prefer, the aircraft of the Germany, was attacking them with bombers and such. So they were stranded in Dunkirk. And, well, again, Canadian, good old Canadian, proud and courageous, went there. Some were civilian in boats like fisher boats or, cargo boats of all kind, even yacht, went there to grab as much people they could. And that operation, with the help of Winston Churchill, called Operation Dynamo.
Yes. Yeah, because Germany had pushed their troops right to the edge of the sea and really pushed them into the sea. And they got every boat, every canoe, everything they could get their hands on. And they sent it over to the coast to pick up the British soldiers and rescue as many of them as they could. And that
And
really is what
Churchill
saved.
actually did call to the world on national TV
Yeah.
or on the international air and said, guys, we need your help. Anyone who has a boat, get your ass there. We need you to get as many people you can for the war effort. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, that's right. And Churchill, one of the instrumental players in that. So, I mean, these are just little nuggets of history from World War II and before and after that give us, a perspective on a complex man, not a perfect guy for sure, but certainly a leader who rose to the occasion, in the moment, led the Western world, one of the main leaders and architects of victory, I would say. Not one of the main architects of World War II. It wasn't Winston Churchill who was covertly building up a military with the intent of expanding Germany. There was one guy who was at the forefront of that, and it was not Winston Churchill. So,
Well,
it was the other way
I'm
around.
not mistaken, Churchill became prime minister, but it wasn't his wish. He didn't want it to be even a prime minister, but Britain needed someone, and he was like, you know what? Nobody does want to take that job, and I'm the guy who's going to do it because I know how to do that job because I've been on the front line, World War One. I know my stuff, so I'm gonna get there and I'm gonna get Britain out of that.
That's right. And indeed, after Neville Chamberlain's abysmal failure, which was initially seen as a success, but turned out to be a failure and showed how naive and gullible he was, then it was really a call through the media and the political system where the people really, there was a rallying cry saying, we need Winston and we need Winston. And he became prime minister.
The pugwash.
The what?
The pugwash. Do you remember the pugwash? It was a protest, the pugwash protest.
The pugwash protest. I'm not familiar.
Oh yeah, I gotta go back probably to my note on this one, but basically it was the how you call that? It was the socialist with basically Churchill and the people that was rallying behind Churchill because of his he was for the people, so
yeah,
as a conservative.
I know there was a rallying cry for him and to campaign to get him to take that job, and away he went. And we were better off for it. Fortunate that we had someone like that to rally the troops, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, and then just recently, ironically, we saw that stolen historic photograph of Winston Churchill from that historic hotel in Ottawa, in Canada, returned. And that was just within the last week and a half. So that was pretty cool too. So very timely to be talking about this here tonight. Winston Churchill.
A great hero, I think.
A great hero. Yeah, I think we should have more discussions like this, moving ahead, where we focus on some of the important figures from our past who continue to influence everything going on today, people who really truly are heroes of freedom.
I always love history, and I think it's in my ball game. We can do that once in a while and find ourselves a little subject and go along with it.
Awesome. With that, Dragon, I'm going to wrap up with you tonight, and I thank you, sir, for sharing that research with us here tonight. Winston Churchill, a great Canadian, a great American, a great world, a great British hero.
And if I may, I will editorialize on this one, but if it wouldn't be from Churchill, the world today would be German, and probably, it would have been the consequences of the Germany winning on the World War II. So.
Indeed. Thank you, sir. We'll be right back, folks.
Maverick News. Fighting for freedom.
Okay, so I'm just going to check here before we... I just want to make sure we've got all the bases covered here tonight. I had a lot of things kind of queued up. Oh, yes. Well, we can't forget this because this is an important story. I don't know if you guys saw this. But there was a major drone strike inside Russia over the past 24 hours. Let me show you this. The narrative being spun a couple of different ways. Of course, there's the Russian narrative, which is that there's a pro-Russian, I would call it a propaganda site, really. World War III alert. NATO just attacked a huge Russian ammunition depot in Toropets. And they're trying to make people think through this particular post that this explosion, trying to make people think that it's a NATO attack and that there may have been a nuclear device detonated because there is a mushroom cloud, or what appears to be sort of a mushroom cloud here. That's not the case. This is not a NATO attack. This is a drone attack. There were several drones launched at this target, a munitions storage facility inside Russia, deep inside Russia, and massive explosion. But the mushroom cloud is only the result of the heat rising. And any massive explosion like that will create a sort of a mushroom cloud. But if it had been a nuclear blast, even a limited one, the devastation would have been much, much greater even than what we're seeing here. And I'm going to run this video for you to show you how big this was. Massive explosion. Huge. Look at that. Oh my God. And look at the smoke and the way the light catches it, almost like there's some devil rising up with wings. Unbelievable. So at least one or two of the drones, I believe one of the drones was shot down. The rest got through. At least two or three of them actually hit the target. This was the result. Light travels faster than sound, so you see the explosion before you hear it because of the distance. And still a lot of talk about long-range missiles going into Ukraine. Putin's warning threat to the West, saying if those long-range missiles are used, it will be the equivalent of a declaration of war by NATO against Russia. Where that goes exactly, time will tell. Things with the strategy of putting the long-range missiles into Ukraine appears to be developing. It's a developing story. The commentary on it has been dialed back a little bit over the last 2 or 3 days, but there's still been a lot of commentary on, when I say comments, I mean comments coming from the U.S., from NATO countries. So I don't know. A lot of people were very, very worried about it, yet at the same time, these attacks inside Russia changing the game quite a bit. And NATO giving the green light on, to Ukraine to launch some of these attacks. And if they get like the Storm Shadow missiles, long-range missiles from the U.S., Russia's saying that it would really be NATO attacking because NATO has to provide the targeting for these weapons. And so they say it's really NATO attacking, not Ukraine. But, that narrative gives Russia a clear-cut advantage if you have to play by those rules, because Russia has satellites and its own targeting technology and infrastructure. Ukraine doesn't. And so they have to rely on outsourcing through NATO countries and maybe even private contracting in order to facilitate targeting for those missiles. But I think you're going to see workarounds happening. I think you're going to see workarounds in the months ahead so that Ukraine can use more of these long-range weapons. The allegations or the accusations coming from Russia are that Ukraine will use these to target cities inside Russia. Ukraine saying that no, the countries providing these weapons are saying no, that those weapons will be, the use of those weapons will be severely restricted and limited for use against military targets only, and specifically things like ammunition storage facilities, transportation infrastructure where military hardware and supply lines are functioning, military production facilities, air bases, things of that nature, military targets, and restricted use for those purposes, not to strike cities, not to strike civilian targets. That at least is what we're being told. And the rhetoric coming back the other way, of course, is that this will precipitate possibly a third world war. It's definitely an escalation. And yet at the same time, I also see the other argument being made where it could lead to peace faster because it puts pressure on Putin to get to the negotiating table faster. And even though we keep hearing from the Russians that they're ready to negotiate peace, whenever that happens, they always come back with more and more demands, especially near the ends of these negotiations, and peace seems very elusive. And even today, I saw like Maxime Bernier capitalizing on the issue for political purposes, I would say, saying that the PPC is the only party in Canada standing up against this proxy war. I took note of that, and yet at the same time, I'm not sure exactly what that means or what that looks like. If we're going to get peace, what does peace look like? How do you get to peace? I know that people want peace. I think everybody wants peace, at least most of us. Maybe not everybody. Some people seem to want war, but peace how? I think it's easy for a politician to sit there and say, no, we're against the war. Just end the war. Well, you can end a war very quickly by withdrawing support and just giving up, surrendering, turning over people that you've made promises to so that they can be slaughtered. There's that. There's always that. No, you have to get to a peace deal in a reasonable way, in a practical way, a pragmatic way. And I'm not exactly, so I don't know. I think some of these comments that I hear from politicians, it's opportunistic. And, I think they realize that war, especially after 2.5 years, wears people down. It's not popular. It isn't popular. Yet at the same time, you have to deal with these things in realistic terms. And if you want peace, it has to be a negotiated settlement. And it has to be genuine, with both sides working toward a peace deal in good faith. And thus far, we just haven't seen that. I don't really think entirely from either side. We have to get back to the table, and it has to happen in a good faith way. And the only way that can happen is if both sides have incentive to do so. That includes Russia. If Russia doesn't have any incentive to get to the table, if it's no big deal to Russia, if there's no serious existential threat to their country or to the power that they hold, then there's not much incentive there. But if there is, and this exerts a lot more pressure, and if you really look at it and analyze it, yeah, these attacks inside Russia, people don't like that. Now people inside Russia have a lot more to be worried about, and the pressure from the people always matters. Pressure from the people and the oligarchs all around Putin. They want to make money. They want prosperity and stability. What you saw right there inside Russia's borders, that's not stability. That's a problem. That's a problem for Putin and the people of Russia. Huge problem. That's incentive to bring the war to a conclusion. As much as the sabers are rattling, there's also some quaking in the knees. I think people on both sides are afraid. Hopefully cooler heads prevail and we get back to peace. Pray for it. We need it. I'm confident we'll get there. I'm actually more confident now. Other people are really, really, really worried about nuclear holocaust. I'm less worried about it right now, to be quite honest. I think that what we're seeing happen might actually lead to peace faster. I'm just crossing my fingers and hoping I'm right. It's not an easy thing. If you want to support the channel, you can do so at freedomreporters.com. And again, any donation of $10 or more, and I will email you the entire Free Dog album with 10 inspirational freedom songs. Title track, Free Dog. And you can also support us if you are so inclined, if you like the work we do here, at maverickdonations.com. That's the Give, Send, Go link. Great organization, Christian-based, super friendly people over there. Just fantastic. So $10 or more, and I'll send you that album. If you donate $30 or more, and you want a t-shirt, I can send you a t-shirt. I can do that. And just let me know when you make the donation what size you need. You can have it in any color you want as long as it's black. And I'd be happy to send that along. And with that, I am going to leave you tonight again with the second version of Free Dog. Free Dog Reprise. And again, 10 songs on the album. I'll share some of the other tunes with you in the nights ahead. But this is a lot of fun. So I hope you like it. Thank you guys for joining me here tonight. Huge thank you to Dragon. A big shout out to him for doing that research into Winston Churchill. And be proud. Keep fighting for freedom. Love you guys. See you tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the flip side.
So bright, he was singing a tune. A lonesome dog's cry about freedom and running and touching the sky. If I leave here tomorrow, would you still remember me? Cosmos free, running wild, wild as the wind can be. He's a free dog. He's a free dog. He's a free dog. Cosmos got them paws that just itch to roam. He's chasing his dreams. He's far from home with a heart full of love. And the spirit so free, he's living his life, wild and carefree. If I leave here tomorrow, would you still remember me? Cosmos free, running wild, wild as the wind can be. He's a free dog, he's a free dog, he's a free dog. He's got the stars in his eyes, the wind in his fur, a tail that wags like it's never heard of a blur. Cosmos on a journey, he's got no chains. He's running through fields, breaking all the lanes. If I leave here tomorrow, would you still remember me? Cosmos free, running wild, wild as the wind can be. He's a free dog, he's a free dog, he's a free dog. So if you're feeling lost, just think of Cosmos run. Remember his spirit, his freedom, his fun. And maybe one day A tail that wags like it's never heard of a bird. Cosmo's on a journey, he's got no chains. He's running through fields, breaking all the lanes. He's got the stars in his eyes, the wind in his fur. A tail that wags like it's never heard of a bird. Cosmo's on a journey, he's got no chains. He's running through fields, breaking all the lanes. Now the night's getting old and the sky's turning gray, but Cosmo's still out there, he's miles away. He's not looking back, he's got his path to tread. With Maverick the field, breaking all the lanes. If I leave you tomorrow, would you still remember me? Cosmo's free, running wild, wild as the wind can be. He's a free dog, he's a free dog, he's a free dog.
This has been a Maverick Multimedia production.